Okay, so you just sat through a nice little presentation about how important ACT Aspire is, lots on the line. I mean, it's our state testing. Obviously, you want to come from a good school, right? I like to think that Shadow's the best school in the district, or at least high school. But from the last Horizon benchmark, it looks like Willow was beating us by a little bit. So we want to continue being like the school that has the higher test scores. The format of the ACT Aspire is not my favorite, but it's our state testing. So obviously, however it's formatted, we've been trying to prepare you. And then you just are going to take your English one next week and the math one the week after. Tomorrow and the next day, we're going to do an activity. And I'm going to take time right now to tell you how that activity is going to go. Because especially tomorrow, there is going to be a crunch for time. Like you really will have no time to waste, no technical difficulties, like nothing. You just got to come in, already know what to do. I'll repeat the instructions, but you are going to be doing an exemplar test that is from the ACT Aspire itself. It is the only exemplar test that they have. So we're going to do that tomorrow, and classes are normally only 60 minutes. So when you do the math and you try to scale it to the time that you'll actually have on the ACT Aspire, on the ACT Aspire, you'll have 48 questions in 75 minutes. So that, when you do the math, averages to about a minute and a half per question. And I put about 2 minutes per question, but really if you spent 2 minutes per question, you would run out of time. Not all of the questions are the same format, which I told you before, they're not. They are some multiple choice, some short answer, and just a lot of the different question types, like the drag and drop, all of those different things are on the test. So you might have to spend more time on, say, like the constructed response questions. Like you might not be able to spend just a minute and a half per question, but that's why we've been teaching you ways to monitor your time so that you can be the most successful. You miss 100% of the opportunities that you don't take. So all the questions that you leave blank, you completely miss, whether it's an easy skill or not. So tomorrow you will have an exemplar test to do. It'll be in a secure browser. It'll have all the different question types so that you can practice. But, and I'll repeat this tomorrow, but for some reason, there's always someone that does it wrong. The exemplar doesn't save your work. All right, it's literally just like a practice test so that you could see the different testing types, so that you can play around in the platform, so that you could use the calculator that they provide, but it doesn't save your answers. So tomorrow you will have a packet that looks like what I'm holding, and you will, as you go, write down your answers in this first column. Okay, Hendon? So you will have this tomorrow, and it's very clear. It even says at the top, day 1, taking the exemplar test for the first time. And in this column, show scratch work and select your final answer. Provide justifications for why your answer is correct only when the question requires it. So does that mean you need to justify every single answer? No. And every year I see kids spending like 20 minutes on 3 questions justifying it, and that's ridiculous. Don't do that. You either know it or you don't. So use those testing strategies we talked about. Do all the ones you know how to do first. Go back and do the ones that you think are more difficult or whatever. But make sure that by the end of the class period, you have everything answered, even if you have to guess. If you do that, you will get 100% tomorrow, even if you're not that accurate. I mean, I'd like for you to be accurate, but really, like, we're down to the wire. You either know it or you don't. You need to at least guess on all the questions by the end. It would be better if you were accurate, because on Wednesday, we'll be correcting all the ones that you got wrong. So like the more accurate you are, the less you'll have to correct. But that's gonna be that Wednesday when we do that. So first day is just kind of getting used to the time constraint. If you do the math, I think tomorrow's test is 36 questions, and if you truly spent a minute and a half on each question, it would be like 56 minutes that you need. By the time you get settled in, get through all the computer stuff, get through the instructions, it might be less than that time. You might not be able to truly use all the time that you're given, but you have to finish, okay? So finishing and having like a sentence or two, there's like 6 constructive response questions. Having like a sentence or two for those will get you 36 out of 36. The next day you will hear what the right answers are. You'll have a different color used pencil, and you'll mark the ones you got wrong, and I'll be telling you the answer. So it's not like our normal test correction days where you figure out the answer in your groups. On Wednesday, I'll tell you what the answer should be, and only for the ones that you got wrong do you have to justify and explain. And that's what this second column is for. If you got it right, then you don't have to. Even if you guessed and got it right, great. But that is going to be the next 2 days. And that will be like our last time working on getting better for the ACT Inspire. We're really trying to get through enough of Unit 7 so that a particular skill you'll have before you take your state test. But I mean, there's just no other way around it. Like, I'm responsible for teaching you algebra. There's some algebra on the ACT Aspire, but really a lot of it is geometry and other types of math questions from prior grades. Stuff that I've had no responsibility at all in teaching you. So that's why you've had those days in class where you're supposed to submit IXL skills. Those were done in IXL by doing the diagnostic test, stepping into the arena to get more skills when you run out of recommended skills. That has been something that you've been allowed to do this entire time. And some students have been taking advantage of that. They have like maybe 180% in the subject category because they're doing all the extra credit stuff that I assign. This one specifically, the one that's right at the top of Schoology, you really can't miss it. It says ACT Aspire Prep. That's where you're supposed to be submitting your screenshots of your completed skills. And the skills, you'll kind of notice, are from prior grades. They're pretty easy. So, I mean, there's no way for me to bridge all the millions of gaps that are in here from prior grades, but this is the way that we've been trying. And the school spent a lot of money on IXL for you to have it. We don't normally have it. Who knows if you're going to have it next year. But this is such a great tool to fill in those gaps. Because, like I said, on the test, you either know it or you don't. There's no point in stressing out on the same question for 5 minutes. Just guess and move on if you don't know that question. And do your best on the ones that you can do to make sure everything's answered by the end. But that, after I'm done talking, is what you'll work on. Submit more of your skills. You have to take screenshots and submit them. There's instructions on how to take your screenshot. I cannot check on every single one of you, so you need to submit your screenshots. But that has always been something you're allowed to do. You can still do it up until we take the Aspire Math on April 8th. A really great opportunity, and honestly, the skills are pretty easy. They're easier than the Unit 5 and the Unit 6 that we've been doing. So yeah, everything I said is typed out here. So whatever calculator you plan to use for your ACT Aspire, bring it tomorrow so that you can practice with it. Otherwise, you're stuck using the one that's been platformed. And I told you a million times, that one's not a good one. You can still go to the bookstore and check one out. As long as you don't lose it, like honestly, you could return it in 2 weeks if you want. As long as you don't lose it, they won't charge you for it. Or buy one and have it for the rest of high school. But bring whatever calculator you plan to use tomorrow for the real test. Other just like housekeeping things, I'm going to give you some independent work time in a second. If you are needing to resubmit a binder check or submit it for the first time, you can do that with me right after I'm done talking. So that's past due, make sure you get that done, that's also a project grade. So it will be only one more unit after that, and one binder check after that. Highlighted is our next like important test. We might have a unit 7 quiz before it, maybe after it. I think we have a couple of unit 7 quizzes, but we're not even gonna start unit 7 until Thursday. So today, tomorrow, Wednesday, we're gonna do a bit more ACC inspired stuff, get you used to the time constraint, the types of questions they'll be asking. And then after that, we just have one more unit. And I also included the days that we're testing for that unit and our final days. Like when I was planning ahead, I was noticing like there's really not a lot of time left in the school year. We're almost to the end. And really we'll be done with all the unit 7 stuff early May. Like or maybe even end of April. I'll be done teaching you all that you need to know. And the rest will be just practicing it until we take our unit 7 test on these days. So we're there. And then you'll see because I pushed the unit 7 test to be kind of later in May because if we have all this extra time, we might as well be using it to make sure we're really prepared for our last unit test. But then shortly after is our finals exams. So like everything that's major is listed on this page to make sure that we're ready by those dates. Any questions? Okay, so yeah, today is mostly a day just for me to tell you how the next 2 days are going to be going. For now, you can work on submitting more of the extra credit IXL skills, the ones that are from your diagnostic test. Time to do that. Again, please submit me the screenshots. I cannot check up on every single one of you. So if you're working really hard and not submitting those screenshots, find them. I have steps in there for how to find them and submit them in the correct link so I can give you the points. Questions? Go ahead, you'll be after the